a little didactic talking about stuff, about bringing a martial arts MMA school in, and I'm always, this is my third one, and I think they want, MAIA wants, we're gonna do a little workout, but basically, I was trying to save you guys and just say let's just talk, but I think they want a little workout, so that's good news and bad news for you guys. We're going to go over just some of the challenges and some of the techniques and some of the strategies of bringing your traditional school to an MMA school. I heard there was they talked about the round table this morning. Is anyone there? And they were kind of bringing the pros and cons of teaching MMA to a mainly traditional school. One thing I hate when they put this right in the middle, you just gotta keep rotating slowly so you can talk to everyone, or else you're giving someone your back the whole time. Anyway, alright, let's get started. Alright, my name is John Hackleman, and I run a gym called The Pit. My gym started off as a traditional school back in '85. But it's not traditional in its traditionality. When I opened the gym back in '85, Woodland Hills, California, I started off wanting to incorporate my gi. I love my gi, people know that. I wear it everywhere. I wear it out to eat, I wear it to Starbucks, I wear it grocery shopping. I love my gi. But anyway, and I wanted to incorporate gi training. Not like gi jiu-jitsu, we don't do lapel chokes and stuff like that, but I like people to wear their gi in class. I think it adds to the martial art feel. In fact, I'll wake up at 5 in the morning, train in my backyard, which is 3 acres, and you've seen it on like the UFC countdown show and stuff with the wheelbarrow and stuff. That's my backyard. So I'm lucky enough to get up and do my workout there. That's my gym. But I'll put my gi on probably half the time just because it gives me that, I don't know what, something crazy. Like I feel more of a martial art feel to it. So in '85 I started the gym and I wanted it to be a traditional martial arts gym, but I didn't want to do katas and I didn't want to do techniques that weren't functional, practical, and realistic. So I started throwing techniques in that I felt were more functional, practical, and realistic. So as opposed to, I have good news and bad news. Right now, I have good news and bad news. Somebody's here, and he's going to work out with you guys. And it might not be pretty. It's corporate heat, so pretend he's not here. Pretend he doesn't know. Anyway, so I made a traditional school. We wore a gi, we bowed in, we had a belt system, we have a curriculum, I have belt testing, even belt testing fees, believe it or not. But my techniques aren't traditional. Obviously, we don't do katas, forms, ridge hands, shoto chops, or any of that. But I threw a bunch of things into a curriculum, divided it up, and started testing on those techniques. In lieu of katas at the beginning of the pit, I threw in conditioning. So instead of knowing, Taioka katas, wazas, or whatever, you had to be able to do X amount of push-ups, X amount of sit-ups, X amount of pull-ups, etc. So that was my non-traditional way of bringing in my. Are you gonna help me? Yes. Court McGee's gonna help me. Thank you, Court. If you didn't know, Court is the winner of the Ultimate Fighter this season, season 11. When I started, I'm going to jump ahead and I'll go back to the pit. But, since the pit started, we've always trained fighters. We have, kickboxing, boxing, MMA fighters. We always have. And then we started getting a little more popular. Then Chuck got really, really popular, so the pit did. So we started getting a lot of calls, kind of like Jackson or some of the other big camps. But we're a small little dojo, So I just didn't have room, so I would just say no. I'd have some of the biggest names call me. I'm not going to mention any names because then it'd sound like I'm a douchebag, but whatever. But I say no to these people that eventually, like this guy won a heavyweight title, this guy won a middleweight title. You know, I get probably like 15, 20 emails a day. You know, I trained the pit, trained the pit, trained the pit. And a lot of it came, you know, when Chuck, got so famous, they figured they're going to get there too. And I just always say, we're a closed gym, we're a family gym. I'm not into new guys. And then that reality show, Chuck asked me to help him with this reality show last season, and I said yes because I knew he wanted to start training for his fight, so I could help him and do more of the training for the team, and he could jump in and train with the guys for the season. So, the court was one of the more, bonded, and he seemed more like a traditional martial art guy that fit more into the pit. A lot of guys won't. Like when, I love Baroni, but when he asked me to train, I just didn't think his charisma and aura would fit in, meld in with my old school pit guys. And so when I talked to Court, we felt that was a perfect fit because he's more like a martial artist than a fighter.
Had 11 years of traditional karate too as well.
He is a karate guy as well, and just the old school attitude and So now he's on the team, so he's actually part of the pit now. So that's the good news and bad news. The bad news about that is probably you guys are going to have to work a little bit harder today because he's part of the pit and he's going to be walking around spanking some of you guys if your push-ups aren't right. Sorry. But anyway, so we're going to go back to the pit. The traditional. If you have a traditional school, I wasn't at that round table thing today, but I've heard the different arguments of MMA, and to me, if you're trying to be your Taekwondo school, and then all of a sudden you say, well, we teach Taekwondo or MMA too, then, that was like, flavor of the month, They used to have, I remember way back, every karate school in the world did Kung Fu too. Then Bruce Lee came along even more. Every karate school did Kung Fu, then all of a sudden every karate school did cardio kickboxing, then every karate school did Taibo. Then every karate school now is either MMA or they do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And it just kind of changes. They stay, true to their roots, or whatever their style, but then they adapt the flavor of the month. That's one way to do it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but that's the thing. The difference with, our system is built in, a curriculum that just happens to be, nobody called it MMA back in '85, but it was always, when people would spar, we just say, what are the rules? We just say there are no rules. The only rule in sparring is the golden rule. Hit as hard as you want to be hit. So, we have had success with an MMA type curriculum, and our demographics, we have the biggest school in our county. We have the most kids anywhere in our county. So we have a true kids program, which is true MMA. They learn everything, from a burpee, to a pull-up, to a double leg takedown, to a left hook, to a spinning hook kick. And we teach a little of all of it. And we mix it all in. And when the kids spar, just like when the adults spar, it's the same thing. The rules are, hit as hard as you want to get hit. Okay? They bow into class, they bow out of class, they put on a gi, and we do a belt system, we do belt testing, we do parents' night out, we do, Christmas parties, Halloween parties, etc. So before we start, I'm going to do some techniques, which you might like, you might not, and if you don't, I'm sorry. But do we have any questions about the pit and incorporating a MMA type curriculum into your traditional school?
So the traditional side of your school of martial arts, that has a belt system, but I guess you don't have a belt system for your MMA, right?
No, that's not correct. My system is, we call it fine Kempo. And Kempo is a word that just if you translate it, just means law of the fist. So to me, my Hawaiian Kempo, which I created, it has techniques that are in and of itself MMA. So we don't have a separate Hawaiian Kempo system and an MMA system. We just have Hawaiian Kempo, and that is our MMA system. Most people just know us as the pit, so I don't even use the word Hawaiian Kempo as much anymore. It's just the pit. My fighters, all of my fighters, and Court just came on the team, but all my fighters are also belts under my program. Antonio Banuelos just got his black belt. Chuck Liddell has been a black belt since the mid-90s. Mike Gahan, one of my pros, he's a brown belt. So all of my fighters they're my students as well. So I don't run my camp like, just come in, train, and do your own thing. My classes are like my fight team training. They're all run like a regular martial art class. That's it. Any other questions? Yes.
Well, when you're getting traditional people coming in doing a kind of non-traditional environment, what are some of the challenges? You have someone who's done karate for that many years,
Yeah.
and it's a much more loosely structured environment.
Yeah, we're looser, but we're tighter at the same time. Like, people call me, so I'm a 10th degree black belt. I'm a 10th degree black belt under my instructor, Walter Godin, and I'm a 10th degree black belt under Adrian Emperado. So I'm a 10th degree black belt. So I don't know, I think it's great grandmaster, I don't even know. Because I don't have the red, yellow, purple belt that they wear, the crazy belt. I just wear my black belt, and my students call me John. And I've had traditional karate guys not like that. Why don't they call you Sensei, Sifu, Sigung, whatever? Well, because first of all, I'm in America, so that wouldn't apply. And I just like John. Well, you don't get the respect. I get plenty of respect. If I get respect from some of the baddest dudes in the world, I get my student Rick Metzler here. He's one of my highest black belts. I got guys like Chuck Liddell, one of the toughest guys in the world. Now I got fighters like Court McGee, one of the baddest dudes on the planet. If they give me the respect that I think I deserve and I get, they don't have to call me sensei. I get the respect from John. So I mean, it's a little different, but we also bow and we also do the belt system and stuff like that. So some people are taken aback a little bit in front in the beginning. Like I've had some parents that bring their kids in, and they've done Shotokan way back in the day. So we don't, I don't line all my kids up. We don't have to do that. I get plenty of respect for my kids. They don't have to stand like this and be bored for half an hour and do a kata, and then this guy watches while this guy does the kata, and they, half of the class is spent doing that. We don't have to do that. So in the beginning, it does throw the parents off. But just like I have, Dawn Barnes is we're working together now. She comes from traditional Shotokan as well. But when the parents, at first they go, oh, is my kid? They're not learning that traditional whatever. But then when they watch the kids, it's much more fast-paced. They're wrestling, they're grappling, they're punching a bag, they're punching mitts and stuff like that. The parents usually go, yeah, this is pretty cool. So, yeah, in the beginning, sometimes they go, they want to teach the kid more respect, but, and discipline, but they see really quickly, they get a lot of respect and discipline with our non-traditional system.
How often do you really have to deal with that?
Spank the kids? How often? Usually not often. Once a month, or what?
How often do you really have to deal with parents in the traditional and non-traditional?
Not often. I'll think of one right now, and Heather pretty much runs the gym now. Lucas and Zachary's dad. Lucas and Zachary are two of my kids. I think one's 10 and one's 5 or 6. And the dad was you could tell he was a real rigid, real traditional guy. I guess he's a black belt in Shotokan. And when he first came, he would ask me, don't the kids do katas? And why don't you line them up? And why don't you let the kids, do this or do that? And I tried to explain to him, and you could tell he didn't really like it at first. That was like 5 years ago. That was when Lucas was 5. Now Lucas is 10, and his little brother, who I don't think was even born yet, is one of my students. So Dad loves the program now, and he's realized real quick that you know, the traditionality of my school teaches the kids, it's actually more respect and more self-discipline, because it takes more self-discipline for a kid to do 100 push-ups, 100 burpees, and train as hard as we train than it does to do 6 katas and learn those. So just in and of the training that we do, it teaches kids a lot more about self-discipline and respect. So, but it also teaches them a real system that if they get jumped in the playground and somebody tries to take the lunch money, they're not going to jump back and do this and then get punched in the face and then get their lunch money taken away. They're going to know how to defend themselves in a realistic manner. So that's the way we look at that. I mean, there's schools that, you know, try to do both, but it's really hard to have such scenes. I teach traditional stuff here, and then here we do a little grappling or BJJ, and then there's just seams there. I mean, to me, it's easier to just do a seamless program or curriculum. Any more questions on that?
Sir, I love MMA. But you know, like in boxing, when boxing was in the great times, right? When you go into if you like to go to any place for boxing, you don't find that there are people like you willing you like be and training, especially if you have kicks, right? Because the atmosphere that you train in boxing is a little bit, you know, like down. You don't think if we do some of the traditional discipline into the MMA training, we can have a better MMA school? You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes the MMA way, some of the schools, they do MMA in the hard way, right? But they lose some of the principles, and probably, the great fighters and people that like to become great fighters, they go to training, but the language and the body language is different that you like to show to your kicks or, I mean, I'm talking about MMA kicks because that's the way that we can have better,
Yeah, I understand. So his question, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but his question is, and we're going to address that more tomorrow with Don Barnes and myself, because we have a whole program called MMA Kids that we're starting. But we have, so the question is, I think a lot of fighters have kind of a bum rap, or they give themselves a bum rap by acting maybe ghettoish, or acting a little rowdy. And so that would bring the parents to say, well, you guys do MMA. First of all, we don't call our system MMA, we call it Judo and KaJuKenBo. But if you bring an MMA program into your school, is that person going to see, this guy you're talking about, whatever, with all tattoos, he's going to beat up this guy. And, so that brings down, the parent might think, well, I don't want my kid learning that. Is that, yeah. So we get a lot of that, and I'm sure there's a lot of that, but I mean, for every, I'm trying to think of someone, think of an MMA fighter that's kind of like that. I'm trying to think.
An idiot?
Who? Chris Liebman, I can't. I would say that, but I think Chris Liebman is a little off. But he's one of the toughest humans alive, and when you talk to him one-on-one, he's not like that. He's not a good, and I don't.
Usually the guys with the tattoos and stuff aren't the tough ones.
Yeah, we're not. We just usually get tattoos to look tough. But then, or we get a beard like that to look like Adrian. I can think there are some fighters like that. I don't even know one off the top of my head. And the reason I don't know one, you can think of 20 boxers like that, but you can't think of too many MMA guys like that. I'm thinking of guys, like Cord and Chuck and Randy, and there's not that many. But everybody's different. You can see a karate guy with his black belt doing a kata, but then, okay, my karate guy, one of the most traditional karate guys in my town, bad-mouthing me all the time. Why would I learn how to defend a takedown? He would tell his students, when I could just knock the guy out if he came in and tried to take me down. That's what he would tell his students. So go to the pit, you're going to waste your time. You don't have to do burpees and push-ups to get strong. You don't have to do that, because all I got to do is one reverse punch, and I'll knock anyone out. Well, every Saturday you'll see his car parked out of the bar, And then Sunday morning is still there because he had to get driven home because he got so drunk every weekend. But he was a real traditional karate kid, long ponytail, guy. So you get him in all walks. But I see your point, and it does. Some people give it a bum rap, but I think most people, when they studied a little bit more about MMA, they realize that most MMA guys are very respectful, very conservative, they're martial arts. And guys like Lehman, like I said, he comes off he has a little different, he has a little different affect, but he's the tough as nails martial artist that is one of the nicest guys around. He'll give you the shirt off his back, So to me, he's the kind of martial artist I'd like to go to war with anything. But just don't give him the mic after the fight. Anyway, him and Nick Diaz. But anyway, any other questions on that?
I have a question.
Okay.
I have a question about curriculum.
Curriculum.
I guess if you look at the MMA fight game, it's kind of evolved in terms of now compared to 10 or 15 years ago, you didn't see a whole lot of jiu-jitsu, and then you saw, the races tap out everybody, and now everyone seems to train that a little bit harder. So have you adjusted your curriculum now? Have you had versus 10, 15 years ago to meet that demand? And then how has that affected, I mean, sure, that's great for the players, but how has that affected the fight and that 2 years ago?
They don't want to go around what?
How has it affected, let's say, like parents who train at your academy and they just went to more of the jiu-jitsu aspect?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think it's an equal amount of ground to stand up, to striking, to grappling. And I think we've always done that. We're mainly known for striking, mainly because of Chuck, but half of my guys like Antonio and Casey Olsen would rather wrestle and grapple.
You're physically able to. I don't see why you wouldn't. I've met a number of stay-at-home moms that were 70, 80 pounds overweight. They come in and learn how to grapple. They learn how to do some conditioning. You see them on a row machine. They aren't on an elliptical. Doing this. You know what I mean? I don't see why you wouldn't. That's really awesome.
I'll finish that. I'll get to it. But so I think our curriculum has evolved, just like all curriculum should evolve, just like, at school, whatever you're teaching always evolves. But I think our core has always been use what works, discard what doesn't. And I think we've always been a good blend of stand up to ground, and then in the middle would be the wrestling. So if you have ground, you have jiu-jitsu. If you have stand up, you have striking. And then the middle ground is the catalyst, which is the wrestling. Takedowns, defending the takedowns, clinching. So I think we've always had a good balance of those. And we're not an MMA school, we're Hawaiian Kempo. So our system isn't a sports system, we're teaching a fighting art. So my students are going to learn ground fighting, but then when I teach the fight team, I teach more, it's more grappling, because you can't do some of the things that you do in the street in the cage. But the cage is the closest proving grounds to what's going to work on the street that you can do without going to jail or getting shot. So it's a great proving ground. So like if students learn this and this and this in class, and then they watch court fighting, they go, shit, that's what we just learned last week. And then they go, that does work. It's the best thing for your students. You teach your students some good grappling moves and some good striking moves. And then watch have like we have UFC night, and all the students come and watch. They'll say, that's what we learned last week. That does work. Look at that. So that's a really good thing. I mean, if you do, I'm not putting down katas because I love katas. In fact, Court and I sometimes we bust out a kata ourselves, but we're not gonna do it right now. You gotta pay us for that. But if you watch a fight, a real fight. That's what you're training your students, most of my students, to fight in the street. If someone tries to take the lunch money, we were teaching them to defend themselves. But then the fighters, they're athletes, and that's a sport. It's the toughest sport in the world, but it's still a sport. There's a referee and rules. But when they're doing that, it's simulating a street fight. It's the closest thing you can do to a real fight. And when your students watch that, it's really cool. Because if you're doing, contests and stuff, then I can say, wow, that bridge hand or that knife edge spear hand works. It's not working. It's not going to work. It'll never work. It never did. But then when they watch a left hook and a spinning, spinning backwards, they go, whoa, we just learned that in class, and it works. So it's a really good one. Do you have a question here? Oh, he was wondering that, he was saying that, has our curriculum changed because the sport itself has changed so much? But I think the sport has gotten to the point where it's kind of, it was jiu-jitsu at first because that's Vale Tudo. It came from Brazil. A lot of it was based around their rules, especially no gloves, no wrapping, and stuff like that. And they were the first ones to do it. And then the strikers kind of came on strong, and they were kind of taking over. Then the wrestlers, and now it's kind of like it's a hybrid system of functionality. What works best, and the best person that day. George St. Pierre will show you that you don't even have to be a wrestler to have great wrestling, because it's not a wrestling match, it's a fight. The only problems we have our belt system, which is the bulk of our program, probably, 90% of our program. So everybody has a gi. Kids, adults, everything. And our conditioning is part of our belt program. So if you come into a workout, a traditional class, it's like you learn the didactic, you learn the technique of the week. We do a grappling technique and a striking technique each week. And then you do a workout, and you bow in, bow out, etc. And then we just have a class that's mainly for kind of just fitness class. That people don't want to do the belts, they just hit a bag and they do different workouts every week. But they all have to bow, they all have to bow in, bow out. The more the belt program does the prayer, we do a pit prayer at the end of every class. Just traditional, and the classes all run the same. From 3 years old, we started at 3 years old, all the way to 85, and everything between. We got everything from parents, teachers, cops, lawyers, doctors, nurses, professional fighters like Court and Chuck. So we have everything in between, and they all train at the same mat. A lot of times on the same time, like Mondays, our rowing and wrestling day. Where I do row, they have to row, then wrestle, get them exhausted on the rower, then they have to wrestle. They're on the same mat as my traditional martial arts class, and they're all working together. So they'll row, and then a traditional guy will get on them, and they'll wrestle, and they're part of the class. So it's kind of melded into one. Any other questions on anything? But my original system, my main system was KaJuKenBo. Any KaJuKenBo guys here? That was weird. No, seriously. I'm not saying it's not really a gay system, but it's gay friendly. So you hear what I said? No, when I said any KaJuKenBo guy, oh guy, woo! That's a joke. Anyway, except when Rich is here. There's Rich. Did you guys see him in the Ultimate Fighter this last week? Rich. Good job. One of the big things in the street fight, and I'll teach you traditional guys, the difference in a street fight and an MMA fight, what makes it so much more of a sport, is hand wrapping. A street fight or an early MMA fight versus an MMA fight now. Huge difference in the hand wrapping. I mean, if you can wrap your hands, the strikers, your chances go up so much higher. And that's good news and bad news. One thing is, it shouldn't be that way. So, what's the most important part of any punch? There's one thing that's more important than anything else when it comes to striking. Punching.
Hit with the right knuckle.
If anybody can tell me that one thing that hasn't been to my seminar before, I did, I told you. This is one of my black belts. He's trying to raise his hand. I'm going to spank him if he does that again. With my slippers. Anyway, the most important part, and you can't answer either, the most important part of any punch, anybody can tell me to get a pit t-shirt. What?
Right.
Hitting your target.
I got
No
it.
shirt. Did he tell you?
No.
Okay, what?
Hit with the right knuckles.
No. Close.
Keep your wrist straight.
Close again, but no cigar. Or no shirt. One person, I got one more.
Lining all thumbs and knuckles.
That'd be good too, but you can't. It's impossible.
Snap.
That's another good one, it's not. Anyway, what? What? Does he get the shirt? Heather, does he get the shirt? Yes. Heather, does he get it? But anyway, okay, the lining of the knuckles is great when you hitting makiwara, which I love to do, or even hitting the bag and it's not moving too much. But unfortunately, you can't. In a real fight, nobody just stands there like this. So if you try to line up your knuckles and hit with those two every time, unfortunately, when the guy moves 1 inch, now you hit it with these two instead of these two. So the only thing you can hit with your first two knuckles all the time is an inanimate, unmoving target. So it's impossible to do. The snap, what? Which is my favorite tool. That's my favorite. I have actually brought my portable makiwara with me, and I hit it in the hotel room. It's awkward, but I do. But you say you can't control that, but you can control building up the power and strength of your fist. So we spend a lot of time, just like you build up your bicep, what Rich does. Build it in the mirror like this. And I'm not judging because I love Rich, but you can tell, look, you can tell, because he lives in the best Boca Raton, Florida. What else are you going to do? It's my favorite town. Anyway, awkward. But anyway, just like everybody wants to build up their muscles and their chest and their pecs and yada yada. If you're a martial artist, why aren't you building up your hand too? I mean, you ever watch the early UFCs where they couldn't wear gloves? Every fight, one of the guys would break their hand. Even in MMA, even if your hands are wrapped right, which usually aren't because most guys don't really wrap that well, you're going to break your hand. So, I mean, it's just, building up your hands is very important. The density of your bones, the 28 little bones in your hand are very important. So anyway, that would be my one advice to martial artists. Build up your hands. Don't go punching trees or anything like that. Just a makiwara, say 500 punches in the morning, 3 times a week. If you have any questions, email me or Rich. Anyway, all right. Anyway, we're going to work on some techniques now. Bringing in traditional martial arts, MMA to traditional martial arts school. Okay? You can stay traditional throwing a left hook just as well as you can a reverse punch. But you know what I do now is my straight punch, my straight right hand, I like the reverse punch. So I call it a reverse punch even in my curriculum for my belt testing. Because I think that just people are starting to overshoot their right hand, and I like to be non-committal with my right or my back side. My back, so with my right leg or my right hand, I like to be more non-committal. And so many guys with good wrestlers, they were committing too much of their hip and getting taken down. To me, it's much more functional, much more practical, and much more effective to throw a reverse punch like you old school karate guys have. And I used to do this too. 2 things. Number one, with a candle. How many guys used to snap a candle and try to blow it out? That's all? I did. Rich, you ever do that? I do it all the time. I used to do it all the time. And it's a great way to develop that reverse punch. Okay? Another thing you do is you hold the board. You just get a 1-foot board, pine, 1-inch board, and just break it while you're holding it. And you have to get the snap down. Or someone else can hold it too. But just hold it with 2 fingers. And if you hit it hard, it's just going to fly out of your hand, the guy's hand. But if you snap it just right, it'll break. And Another good thing. Okay? I don't even know where I was going with that. It just came out. But anyway, so I like to be non-committal with my hip. So we're going to start doing a couple drills real quick. Does everybody want to work out? Anybody have more questions didactically or what's up? Do my kids' class spar with MMA gloves? No, my kids, spar with regular gloves, boxing gloves. They do take down and hit the ground. When they hit the ground, you can go for some submissions, some chokes, etc. You can punch on the ground. We usually stop it once it gets to the ground and they start hitting the other one once, maybe twice. If we don't like the kid, maybe 3 or 4 times. That's who it is. We have one kid, big brother. He's not a human. This kid is 12, and he intimidates Chuck when they shake hands. He just has this glare. But when he takes the kids down, I mean, he'll kick him in the head, hit him with the left hook, take him down, and as soon as he stands over him like Fedor, and he just starts pounding, and you gotta yell, "Stop!" And he'll just stop, and then he'll just bow and walk away. And if you don't say stop, one thing I teach my kids in class is don't stop until we yell stop. I say that, and I say it in the street. I teach my kids, and we do anti-bully classes. We do around our the elementary schools in our neighborhood. We do anti-bullying classes. And one thing we teach, and I teach my students, is it doesn't matter if they call your mom, a fat, ugly witch. You walk away. It doesn't matter what they call you. You walk away. But the second they put their hands on you, you punch them hard, fast, and you keep punching them until they hit the ground. Now, some teachers don't like that. In fact, Big Brother, who's probably our toughest student, got into a fight and beat up some kid in school, and I got a call from his principal, which I get plenty of calls from principals. Is that funny? That wasn't a joke. No, because I don't like you guys anymore. No, but so I got a call, and the principal, Mr. Hackleman, I just want to know. Isaiah got into a fight today, and he punched this guy in the face, and he hurt the guy. I go, okay, well, can you tell me the whole story? Because Isaiah will never start a fight. What happened? Well, the kid was calling Isaiah names, and I go, Isaiah didn't hit him for calling names. He goes, well, no. Then the kid pushed Isaiah a couple times. And I go, then what happened? And then Isaiah hit him twice, and the kid fell down and started crying, and his nose was bleeding. And I said, okay, so what was the problem? And he goes, well, do you really teach your kids to punch someone for just being pushed? I go, well, maybe if he was pushed, and he tripped, and then he hit his head on the ground, and he got a subdural hematoma. Now he's in a coma, breathing out of a tracheostomy tube. Can you hit him then? As soon as somebody pushes someone, all bets are off. I mean, the concrete hits harder than any fist. If somebody pushes one of my kids, he better hit him back, because the next push, he might trip over something, hit his head, and become like I said, a vegetable. He might get hurt or worse. So the second they lay hands, to me, that's when the fight starts. Does anyone disagree with that? I'd like to hear it. We can debate it. That's happening. No, I don't care what he calls them, walk away. I don't care what he says to him, walk away. The second they lay the hands, the fists are going to fly. So we teach that in class. Why was I talking about that? What else was I saying? I forgot. What were we talking about?
Don't stop. Don't stop till we say
don't stop. Yeah. So anyway, we do like your guys' lessons. We do life lessons in class too. It may be a little different, have a little different flavor. It might be a little more hardcore. It is the pit. And a lot of parents, like you were talking about earlier, a lot of parents come in and expect traditionality. We are a martial arts school. But most people see the pit, they watch the fight, they kind of know what they're expecting when they go in. And they bring their kids in. A lot of people bring their kids in to be tougher. And they do get that at the pit. And if you guys have any questions about that kind of stuff, I'm not plugging our affiliation, But if you guys have any questions about that, be free to ask or get in touch with me. We do teach a really good program. American Top Team has a great one they teach too. And like our school, American Top Team is 20,000 square feet, we're 4. We're a little more traditional with the gis and stuff that they are. But if you go into American Top Team, which is 20,000 square feet, the biggest fight team in the world, where they got like 70 fighters, you will walk in that school, you'll think you're in a traditional type Shotokan school, the most traditional school you can be in. Because every fighter, the baddest dudes on the planet, they're going to come up and bow and respect and oos, and it's like a traditional martial arts school. Laborio and the owners of Top Team, you got Primo over there, and I forget the other guy's name, but there's another guy, but whatever. They've made that so it's the feel of that gym, or that fight team, is like a traditional martial arts school. Nobody talks back, they all, like I said, if you walk in the gym, they bow and shake your hand and stuff like that. Any questions? Any other questions before we start? Any more questions about, bringing a traditional martial arts school into the MMA world? No? We're going to start. Okay, everybody stand up. Let's go. Good job. 50 burpees for time. Ready? Oh shit, I don't know my step one. Oh well, I'll just count. Okay. Alright, let's get going. Okay, our first thing that we work on in class is just the basic stance. And let me just say a basic stance. If I do a basic strike against a good wrestler in court, he's not known as the wrestler, but then look at who saw his last fight. Yeah? Okay. And like I said, in the beginning, St. Pierre was all about the striking and avoiding the takedown. Lately, all he wants to do is take everyone. He can take the best wrestlers on the planet down. He's known as the best wrestler in MMA. He never wrestled in high school or college. It's a whole different game. So, and then what I'm saying that is, for you guys that are traditional karate guys, which he was in the beginning, KaJuKenBo, whatever. But anyway, that's what he was. Now he's known as the best wrestler in MMA. But anyway, one reason I don't like to commit too much with the hip is because when you give someone your hip, it's like giving your heart. You give your soul. And they're going to take advantage of you and then crush it. Like if you give a girl your heart, you know what happens. They're going to take advantage of you, crush it, stomp on it, and then walk away. And that's what a good wrestler will do. If you give him your hip and he ducks under that punch, now he's got my hip. Okay? If I did that reverse punch, and if I was timing a little better, then I could be back. By the time he shoots, I could be here. If I'm trying to wind up and put the punch, he's going to see that. He's going to meet that with that. And that's going to end up with me on my back and him standing over me, punching me, or even worse, taking my lunch money. Okay? Which is a quarterback when I went to school back in '72. But anyway, that's not funny. Alright, so one thing we're going to talk about, that's the non-committal of the hip, but we're going to get in the stance first. The difference between a lot of the seam, when I was talking about seams, like if you do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in your school, and then Muay Thai, which is a really trendy term, you go to the Muay Thai guy, he's going to teach you to stand up like this. That just doesn't work well if this guy's here and he's going to come down and all of a sudden do that, or take me down, I'm up here, oh shit, now I'm going to start to sprawl. The best way to defend a takedown is not get taken down. Okay? So if I'm trying to defend a takedown with a sprawl, you're starting already too late. Okay? You're starting down the hill. Okay? So to defend a takedown, we're going to start with the stance first. So it's easier for me to defend a takedown when I'm low as well as if I'm high. And MMA guys, or they go to Muay Thai coaches or boxing coaches that don't have an MMA background. Like if you go to traditional American Top Team, you have the gold medal winner Howard Davis as your boxing coach. So why would you want to go to a boxing coach if you're trying to learn MMA? Well, because someone like Howard Davis has the kind of mind where he knows that he's not teaching a boxer when he's teaching Court. He helped train Court for Court's last fight. He trains Rich. He trains, those guys. He knows they're not going into boxing match, so he lowers that stance a little, lowers the level, and teaches striking that it's more in tune with MMA.
Really into it. My original boxing coach, boxing was developed on Takedown to conceal your punch. So when I punch here, you can't see this one coming, ideally. And that doesn't work. You kick away and you shot.
Court, he helped train Court for Court's last fight. He trains Rich. He trains, those guys. He knows they're not going into boxing match, so he lowers that stance a little, lowers the level, and teaches striking that it's more in tune with MMA.
Really into it. My original boxing coach, boxing was developed on Takedown to conceal your punch. So when I punch here, you can't see this one coming, ideally. And that doesn't work. You kick away and you shot. I mean, squared up.
They're just squared up a lot.
Like how it is, coaches, being open-minded. That's the main thing with martial arts.
That's true. Can't be. You gotta go nowhere. But what we were just saying, the stance is going to be very important. And karate guys want to do the side stance. They want to do side kicks, spinning back kicks, spinning whatever, and they want to do a lot of that kind of stuff, which is great in karate. But in MMA, or even any kind of street fight, they kick your legs out from under you. They're going to take you down. How are you going to sprawl from here? It's going to be a lateral. Wait a second. We can make up a lateral sprawl, so we can market it. We have to do a lateral sprawl on the side. Yeah, I don't think it'll work. Okay, we'll do that later. So you have to square up. Okay, you have to lower your level. Okay, you have to lower your level not for the striking, for the bend and the takedown. And that's the street and MMA. Almost everything we're teaching is MMA and street. Okay? There's some really fine differences, but overall I've lumped them together pretty much the same. Okay? So we're going to lower our stance. Okay? First of all, legs a little wider than shoulder width, just a little wider. Okay? Now we're just going to take one normal step forward with our non-dominant foot. Okay? And that's good. Okay, just one normal foot. Then from here, both our toes are both going to be facing between 1 and 2 o'clock. So this would be 12, this would be 3. You don't want either. You want somewhere around 1 and 2. It's the heart of your bone. That's a good one. So I just learned that right now. I'm going to use that. Okay? He doesn't have a heart. He doesn't have a heart. Where's he come up with that? Anyway, okay, so here we go. So it's right there, a little wider. Okay. Now our hands are just going to come up naturally. You bring your elbows in tight. Okay. You always want your elbows in tight, especially your right elbow. Okay. Because what hides under there? Liver. There's nothing that hurts more than a liver shot. Nothing. I mean, you can kick me in the groin as hard as you want. Well done. But I'd rather get hit in the groin than the liver. Anyway, so your hands in tight, chin's down, and your shoulders are up. Okay? Now from here, now you drop your level low. Okay? And do one more thing. Instead of this stance right here, my hands up here, I want this hand coming out just a little bit. I still want my chin down, protecting my, I still want my shoulder up and my chin down, but I want this hand up a little, just a little bit more. Does anyone know why? Anyone? The hook, right? If I'm here and he comes into me, I gotta pull my hand back and then throw a left hook. Okay? That movement is gonna take away from the hook. Okay? So if I'm here, I can throw a jab all day long and a 1-2, but if he comes in, I can't hit him with a hook. Okay? If it brings it out just a couple inches more and he comes in, now I can. All that hook has to travel is, 3-4 inches, hit right in the chin, and you can create enough torque and power for it to knock you out. We don't have time for that. Do they have anything with that? I'm just gonna say that. But while Kurt's doing that, we'll keep going. I'm gonna show you that you can generate enough power. Sure, you're gonna get a little bit more power if you pull back, but then your opponent's also gonna have about 6 more minutes to defend that pressure. So we want to keep it right here, right over here. You can also jab from here, defend from here, and you're still, your chin is protected by your shoulder. Okay? So that's why you'll see a lot of my fighters more like this than up high like this. And you can jab just as well from here as you can from here. But this takes away your hook. Okay, so that's that. So that's why I do that. So it's a little wider stance, chin down, and then this left hand cocks a little bit. Alright, any questions on that? Okay, from here I feel better about defending the takedown, taking the takedown, or striking, or defending striking. Okay, so that's what our stance is like. So you'll see this without most of my guys. Okay, any questions on that? Complaints? Comments? No? Okay, let's go over the quick, just the basics of the jab and the right hand. We're going to go over those and drill them a couple times. Okay? Jab, you'll hear it all day long, one of the most underused strikes in MMA. I've seen so many guys busted up with just a jab and then taken out. It's also a way to set up other strikes, defend, from strikes. The reason it defends is if you're throwing, one of the best defenses is a good offense. So, okay? So we're going to throw a jab. Okay, what's the most important part of any jab? Where do you sit?
Tight fist.
How many guys are like this and just jab like that in sparring or training, and they do that in the fight too. Okay? You got to make a tight fist. You got to practice. You have to visualize, and you have to actively practice how to have loose arms yet tight fists, because that's in and of itself a skill. Okay? So you got a tight fist and relaxed arms. Okay? So we're going to be here, chin down, and we're going to jab. Snap it out, take a little step, and right back. Chin down, snap, and come right back. Okay? Good. Snap it. Chin down. Keep that right elbow tight. Right elbow tight. You always want to protect that liver. Pop it, and right back. Pop it, right back. Good. Snap it. All right, good. Now, our next move is going to be our right cross. Okay? Reverse punch. Okay? So from there, instead of bringing it over like they're teaching in boxing, I like to just bring it straight. A little straighter and not as much emphasis on the power. I want it more on the snap. Snap. Okay? Snap. Just like when you have a gi, you hear a snap. Okay? I feel like you get a lot on the next one. I'll show you that hook thing now. Okay, we'll do that snap punch. We'll do that 3 times and then we'll do the hook. Ready? 1, snap it. Reverse. Remember, you get a candle and blow it out like Rich does it. Oh, thank you. All right, one more time. 1, snap. Good. Chin down. 2, snap. Good. Let me show you that hook I was talking about real quick. That's weird. Wait. Okay, so if this is my opponent, he's coming towards me, and that's his head, he comes in, I'm not going to hit anything. I have to actually do this first. So when he comes in, it's too late now. Okay? In the heat of battle, a quick fight, boom, I'm going to be dropped. So when I'm here, the second he steps, and if he doesn't think, it's hard to see the power of that punch, but visualize that hitting the chin, that'll give you enough power to stop somebody. So I'm here, whether he's coming in low for a shot, or most guys when they come in for the right hand, they're not going to come in and throw it, they're coming in like this. Okay? So the second he takes a step, okay, you're actually not committing your hip. If I was throwing a right hand and he came into me, I'm committing my hip to him. So that shot he did earlier, I'm committing my hip and he's taking a shot, it's going to meet. They're going to meet, like two trains, it's going to be that much more of an explosion. And with his lower center of gravity, I'm going to end up on my back. Come in. Oh, you did? Then you learned
I
it.
had two surgeries on this side, so we worked a lot. We gave them this hook. That's what I tried. Yeah, that's what. That's got anything now. Left hook.
The left hook was his ticket out. So we're gonna do, okay, so I committed my hip, and if it lands, great. It's gonna be, he's gonna hit the ground. But I'm not gonna chance that because most guys aren't gonna come in, they're gonna come in lower, and then you're committing your hip, you're committing your back to the ground. Okay? With the left hook, it's different. I commit my hip, because you have to throw your hip in to the punch as well. But remember this, when I'm committing my hip with my left hook, I'm not committing it to him, I'm committing it over here. Okay? It's just passing by his chin, and if he catches it, it's going to drop him. But I'm not committing my hip to him, I'm committing it over here. Okay? So I feel a lot safer with a hook than I do with a straight right or most other punches. Because I'm taking myself out of the game, I'm over here now. Okay? So my hip has been committed over here. My weight is on my back leg, and I can just walk away. And if I take my eyes off my opponent, I'm here. My chin's still down. There's not much he can do. He can punch me in the back, maybe, but I don't really care. Okay? He can try for a single, but with this thing right here, I can just probably step out and walk away. I practice this with, like I said, I'm lucky enough to be around some of the best fighters in the world, best jiu-jitsu guys. I've trained with, a bunch of the Gracies, Mario Sperry. I've trained with, Dave Camarillo, and it comes from wrestlers, Mike, Matt Lindland, Sammy Henson, some of the best in the world. And I actually go over these techniques with them. Could you get me a single if I did that? Or I work on this, this, and this?
Do you ever wait and look?
Never. No, it'd be like when you hit with a bat, how it shifts, or if you pitch a ball, like I wouldn't pitch a ball and leave it on my right? It all goes to the opposite leg. So when I throw a hook, it goes to my opposite leg. That's where the power's gonna come. If I put my power on this, I'd lose all the power. Any other questions about that? Yeah.
We put the left hook, so you need to reach to land it. You don't want to reach with your hip as much as you want to reach with your shoulder. I don't want to step in too much.
You don't want to reach, you want to get to your destination. So if he's up here, I don't want to do this.
Okay, so you don't want to be shoulder. You don't want to end up in this position.
Yeah, you don't want to.
Yeah, okay.
That's the other way. I got dropped in the very first fight to get in the house with the right hand. Threw a hook, came low, and came over top. So you can reach real far. If you put yourself, leave yourself open.
And you gotta actually use your feet to get to your opponent.
Yeah. Whoa.
And the shift of the weight will always go to your back leg.
Yeah.
Okay. So we do that 1, 2. Okay, let's do the. We don't have sorry wrong pads. And no, you can't hit the person with next to you. Okay? We're gonna do a left hook. Let me just or enemy. Or it's Rich. Or is it an American Top? Any American Top Team guy, or anyone that's in a different fight team like Matt Hughes. No? Okay, never mind. Okay, so this is how I like to teach my hook. Okay? We got that jab down to the 1, 2. That's a real basic 1, 2. It's great. But the hook is my bread and butter. Because I like the hook so much because it's so much closer to your opponent. I'm right here. I'm this close. This doesn't seem like very far, but it's a really far way to travel in a beautiful fight. Okay? But right here, I'm already right there. All he has to do, he doesn't have to move. I can be right here. I can hit him all day long. As soon as he moves, that hook comes. Okay? And I feel really safe throwing it. Okay? So let's work on the basics of the left hook. This is how I like to throw my hook. It's the Karate Kid. Okay? So you just turn your hips. Remember that thing they had, that little drum thing? You guys are laughing, think it's stupid, but it's real. Karate Kid, whatever. Karate Kid 2. When he was on the little island. Okay, now you spin. Now you're gonna hold the pad up. Now from here, you generate the power, all the power from your hook, from your hip. So I'm over here, then this next time I'm gonna do it. Generate the power. So I'm just power from the hook. Okay? That's how I like to teach the hook at first. Just that natural motion of the swinging of the hip. Okay, see how you weight shifts from one leg to another, and then I can do it like 3 with your left. If you have a partner, you can do it with a pat the same way. They can do 3 with your right. Okay, you can go back and forth. Okay, now hands up, 5 stance. Let's do that left hook right from there. Okay, ready? Turn the hip, pivot with the ball of foot, and try to look backwards. You can take your eyes off your opponent for a split second. Okay? 1, whip it. There you go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, good job. Alright. I saw a couple mistakes. The biggest mistake I saw was an open hand. You never want to hit your opponent with an open hand. This is rock, this is paper. If you hit someone with paper, you're going to hurt your hand, not their face. Let's try one more time. Tight fist. Left hook. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, good job. All right, shake it off. Keep it going. All right. We're going to work on one more quick thing, and then we're going to get out of here. Okay. The basics of the takedown defense. Okay? Very important for street fighting and very basic for traditional martial artists, stand-up martial artists trying to defend the takedown. See, no, honestly. Anyway, okay. I'm just going to give you a couple of quick things. You can remember these. If you have a pen and paper right now, then you can always just call me, email me, or email Rich or Gordon. Okay. Number 1, the most important. These are the priorities of the takedown defense. Number 1, distance. As a striker, you want more distance. Okay? One way to keep distance is movement. Okay? Another way is to create a wall, whether it's a real wall or imaginary wall. You want your opponent to think there's a wall. Okay? And distance. So if he's trying to take me down, this is the wall, this is the wall, and then this is movement. Okay? Lateral movement with no rhythm. Okay? It has to be arrhythmic. Because the second I get rhythmic, he figures out my rhythm and he'll shoot that way. Just like a striker will. So you have to be arrhythmic. I'll do this all day long with my fighters. Back and forth, let him set up for the shot. Wrestlers don't just shoot, they have to set up for it. They don't just... Okay? They want to set up for that shot. Okay? Set up. Okay? It's really hard to set up if they're like this. Okay? So, arrhythmic lateral movement. Okay? With a wall. Could be imaginary or real. And that'll be the jab. So this all day long. That's an imaginary wall. Think. And just keep moving back and forth. Okay? That's number 1. Number 2 is level. Okay? Distance number 1, level number 2. The uptight, straight up fighter is going to get taken down a lot more than a fighter that changes level. A good drill for this when you're, for your opponent or your students is just the mirror drill. So you always want to practice changing your level. Okay, that's number 2. Distance number 1, level number 2. Always watch your level. Number 3, hips. Okay, again. Once you commit your hips to your opponent, okay, you just giving them everything. Like I said, it's like committing your heart to some woman. Okay, you're gonna take or a guy. They're gonna take it out. They're gonna stomp on it, and they're gonna crush it, and then they're gonna walk away and leave you crying in a heap in a corner somewhere. And some of you guys know what I'm talking about. So you gotta keep your hips and your heart intact. Okay, so don't commit your hips to your opponent. Okay? And when you do commit your hips, or if your opponent does get a hold of your hips, try to get them back before you try to get something else. In other words, if he gets a body lock on me, before I worry about an underhook, because the first thing guys start teaching underhook, before you start getting an underhook, you want your hips back. Because if he got my hips, and I'm trying to get an underhook, and he's got my hips, he can pick me right up off the ground. Yeah, so just pick them, you hear your hips and you pick it up. Okay, now, once I get my hip back, now he can't do that, and I have an extra minute or two or second to get my underhook in. So once he gets me, before I start digging for underhooks and giving him my hip, it'll be too late. By the time I get halfway in, I'll be on my back. So before I do anything, once I feel him getting my hip, I'm going to drop and pop, and then I'll worry about digging for an underhook. So, distance, level, hips, and then the fourth one is head. Okay? Because a lot of times, say you got a single, a lot of times he's going to push. You guys automatically start pushing, especially without much training, and he's going to push on his shoulders, and next thing I know, like I said, his shoulders are really strong. So I'm going to push against your shoulders. On the other side of that is, he might have a hard head or a strong head, but his neck isn't going to be as strong as my shoulders. So I want to push it way at the head all the time. Okay? So, distance, level, hips, and head. Any question on that? Okay, before we go, let's do a quick drill. Get a partner, and I just want you to do a mirror drill. So try to actually touch their legs, okay? And it'll give the other person a reflex to drop. Okay? Don't do any takedowns or sprawling right now, please. This is what I mean. You guys correct me. Watch this. Remember the first one's distance, lateral movement.
Space and level my head.
Hands up, chin down. Hands up, chin down. No shoulder, rich hands. What? Look, hands up, chin down. Once in a while, with your hand open, if he walks into a hook, he doesn't taste how that hook would work. But don't actually hit on it all the time. I just made another loss. Again, another loss. I'm running over. You got any questions before we close it up? First of all, thanks for coming. You got any questions? Come to our booth. You can ask whatever you want. Court's going to be around. I'll be there. Heather in the booth. You got a question? Okay. Do we have any other questions about anything? All right, guys. Well, be together? All right, thanks for coming, guys.
Oh, still small.
Yep. Thank you. Sure, well, got it.
It's the American version, so light years. Nothing like that.
Okay, that was.
He's on white too, but he's on different direction.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Sir, a chance to get a quick autograph?
Yeah, sure.
Good stuff, boss.
3. I got 3 points.